Hi kids, so this is lesson 9-7 that some of you will be doing this week probably, or maybe some of you already completed, I don't know. But this is a lesson that I would have loved to be able to teach this to you in class actually. It's kind of confusing and it's pretty tricky. So I'm going to attempt to explain this lesson. First of all, a couple of things about this. This right here, this problem number 1, all you have to do is subtract 7 minus 4 to get 3. And then 5 minus 2 to get 3 as well. And that's your numerator. And the denominator just stays the same. And then you'd have to simplify that if you could. But in this case, that one doesn't have to be simplified. That's no problem. But the problem comes in with these two problems, like numbers 2 and number 4. And why are those tricky? Because you cannot take 3 from 1. Okay, so you're in a situation where in subtraction you would have to borrow. But I'm going to show you how I want you to do these problems. So for instance, number 2. Let's just take number 2. 3 1/4 minus 1 3/4. So we're going to go ahead and do that on a separate sheet here. 3 1/4 minus, oh shoot, I forgot what it was. 3 1/4, 1 3/4. Alright, so what that's going to look like is this, guys. You're going to have to break down 3 1/4 into this. 4/4 plus 4/4. And what you have here is 1, 2. You have 2 wholes. Well, you got to add another one. 4/4. Now you're up to 3. That's your whole number. Right there. And now you got to add your 1/4 to it. So what is all that going to be? You add up all of those fourths. You got 4/4 plus 4/4 is 8/4. Plus another 4/4 is 12/4. Plus one more fourth, and that's 13/4. So you've got 13/4. And that's for 3 1/4. Okay? Then you go ahead and you break down 1 3/4. Well, what's that going to look like? And again, we're using fourths for the wholes here. Why are we using fourths as the wholes? Because the denominator is already in fourths. That's why we chose to use 4/4. If it were like 6, then we would go 6 6. Okay? But for instance, in this one, it is for the denominator, so we're going to use 4/4. So what is 1 3/4 going to look like? Well, it's going to be a 4/4 plus a 3/4. And that's it. So what is that going to equal? Well, 4/4 plus 3/4 is going to give you 7/4. So now, what are you left with? What do you have to do? Well, you take your 13/4 right here, and you got to subtract 7/4 from it. And that we can do. That we can subtract. So 13/4 minus 7/4. So let's go ahead and get a new one open here. 13/4 minus 7/4. So here we go. 13/4 minus 7/4. And 13 minus 7 is going to give you 6/4. Denominator always stays the same, right? So 6/4 now, this is what you have for your answer so far. Now you got to simplify that. So what is that going to look like if you simplify? Well, because it's an improper fraction right now, 6/4, you got to turn it back into a mixed number. How do you do that? Well, how many 4/4 would fit into 6/4? Well, you can do a 4/4, and that's 1. And then the only thing you can add to that would be 2/4. So what does that really mean? Well, this is 6/4, this whole thing here. But what you have here is a 1, because 4/4 is just 1. So it's going to equal 1. and what you have left is 2/4. And now you're like, man, that's great. Okay, so we're done, finally. No, because you can actually reduce that fraction by dividing by a common factor. So what are the factors of 2? Well, the factors of 2 are 2 and 1. What are the factors of 4? 1 and 4 and 2. 2 times 2. So they both share 2 as a factor. So that means that 1 and 2/4 you can simplify. If you divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, you're going to end up getting 1 and 1/2. So that is your final answer for that problem. Okay? I want you to give a shot for number 4 on your own there and see what you can do, guys. I know that mom and dad probably have a different way of doing this, and like I always say with math, there's multiple ways of doing this, and if they can explain it in a way that makes sense and you get the final answer correct and it makes sense to you, then go for it. Okay? Because there's not always just one right way of doing it. But anyways, I really wish I was with you guys, and I miss you all. So keep in touch, and hopefully you're checking your classroom story for the next one, because I'll do another lesson coming up this week. Okay? All right. Bye, guys.